The Senate does emerge from the spending defeat able to move ahead on several big issues, or at least move ahead until Republicans block them from moving ahead. The DREAM Act, creating a path to citizenship for otherwise law-abiding, undocumented immigrants, expected to come to the floor this weekend and die without the support of the Republicans who voted for it when Bush was president. But enough Republicans do appear willing to break ranks that Democrats appear poised to make history this weekend. That's right. Congressional observers predicting that Democrats will muster enough Republican support to beat a filibuster by conservative Republicans and finally repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which, when signed by President Obama, will make it the law of the land that anyone in this country can serve their country without having to hide their sexual orientation, without serving in fear of being found out. Senator Joe Lieberman leading the charge to get the vote done, telling Talking Points Memo he is confident he has at least 60 votes for this, including Republican votes, despite the Republican threat to block any votes until they approve the spending we mentioned earlier. The move is a big victory for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who salvaged the repeal by getting it through the House as a standalone bill. Republicans said today that voting on Don't Ask, Don't Tell this weekend will mean defeat for something that has nothing to do with it. Talk about hostage-taking, the START Treaty for nuclear arms reduction and protection of Russia's loose nukes. Republican Senator Bob Corker told Talking Points Memo that Reid's scheduling of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell vote, quote, being thrown into the middle of this debate is causing many Republicans to want to see START push back, and candidly is causing them to oppose it. Lindsey Graham, McCain, and others who once supported START pulled their support today. Joining us on the Don't Ask, Don't Tell vote is Alex Nicholson, Executive Director of Service Members United, which advocates for gay and lesbian troops and veterans. Alex, good evening.
Good evening, Chris.
All right. So I guess the first question is this going to really happen? I'm almost in this sort of state of sustained disbelief because I think the disappointment would be so massive and holiday destroying that I want to not get people's hopes up. So how is this looking?
Well, we've certainly had our fair share of disappointment this year with 2 failed Senate votes so far. But things are actually looking really good right now. We know we have more than 60 votes that favor repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell in the Senate. We know we have our Republican votes. The conditions for those votes have now been met. So things are looking very, very good for the cloture vote in the morning on Don't Ask, Don't Tell. There's always a couple of tricks in the bag that someone has. We're a little bit, guarded because of that. But things are looking very good at this point.
I'm wondering if, let's say, it does end up happening this weekend and we won't be doing shows Saturday and Sunday night. So let's just put that as a premise. When you look back at the history of this 2 years of fighting for this repeal, who do you think gets the credit for it? Who gets the sort of MVP award of Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal?
That's a good question. I think a couple of people share it. Senator Lieberman has certainly been an outstanding champion on this issue in the Senate. Patrick Murphy in the House, Congressman Murphy, has been a phenomenal advocate, and he actually got this through in the House. Of course, it's a little bit easier to get things through in the House sometimes than in the Senate, but those 2 champions in their respective chambers have been phenomenal. There have been a couple of unsung heroes, though. Senator Carl Levin, chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, has basically said we're going to drive through on this despite tepid support from other elements at times. Senator Mark Udall of Colorado has been fantastic behind the scenes on this. Senator Gillibrand, of course, has been very vocal on this and active. But you know who never gets credit on these things, who really deserve to be recognized and thanked, are the staff of these senators and members of Congress. Senator Lieberman's staff has been absolutely phenomenal. Senator Udall's staff has been absolutely phenomenal, and no one would ever know that because they're not out there, on camera talking about it. But I think they really are the unsung heroes of this victory should we achieve that tomorrow and move it into next week.
That's a great staff shout out, Alex. I hope we set some precedent there. Explain why if this doesn't come together for some reason, and I would if I was going to bet on why it wouldn't, some arcane Senate procedural quirk that none of us even know about right now. Why is it so important it happened now?
Well, I think we're sort of at a critical point right now where we have the Pentagon report out saying that here's the roadmap. It can be done. We have a unique legislative situation set up for next year where, of course, the House is under the control of one party, the Senate is under the control of another, and the White House obviously is still in the hands of President Obama. But, the party that's going to control the House, and, we're, of course, nonpartisan, but we look at, just sort of the facts on the ground with respect to this issue, and that the party that's going to control the House starting in January does not favor repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And, of course, the leadership in both of these chambers really determines what's going to happen. And so, it's really important to get this through. The Pentagon wants it. Secretary Gates says, please pass this bill in the lame duck. We need it. And if we don't get it, the courts are going to impose their solution on this issue. And, of course, I'm the lead plaintiff on the court case that got it declared unconstitutional. If the Senate doesn't do it, we absolutely are going to get the courts to move forward on that and do it. So, we're in a very critical period right now, a very narrow window. And if it doesn't happen by the end of the year, really by Christmas, you're going to see some more drastic solutions. Congress can choose. Do they want this more moderate solution to this issue, the legislative solution, or do they want, what they consider, a lot of them, a radical court-imposed solution? We're prepared to provide both. It's up to them to choose.
Alex, final question here. I want to ask you what lessons you've learned about Washington and the legislative process from this battle, because it seems, from one perspective, you could say, if Saturday night you're popping champagne and celebrating this accomplishment, which really is historic, you can say, look, this system did work. On the flip side, it does seem like this is such an obvious policy. There's such overwhelming public support. The amount of effort that it took to get this change can also be interpreted as dispiriting. And I wonder what your takeaway lesson is from this battle.
That's a good point. I think this is a very unique issue, though. I don't know if it would apply to some other issue areas. It's a very unique issue because, although most people, I think, view this in terms of civil rights and gay rights, we always hear about the gay community wanting this issue, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal. This also straddles the realm of defense personnel policy. And anything that straddles defense policy issues always has a little bit of a twist on it. And, the courts, this is why we've had so much trouble, I think, over the years with the courts, with Congress, with, a lot of other sectors. Everyone tends to defer to the military and to professional military judgment when it comes to defense issues. And so that's one of the reasons I think we've had such an uphill battle on this particular issue. Despite overwhelming support from the American people, despite, solid majorities of conservatives, independents, churchgoers, even Tea Partiers, we still have to deal with a defense policy issue in the Pentagon, and the defense leadership is a lot more conservative sometimes than the average American, and so we see a lag behind sometimes on issues like this. But, in addition to that lesson, there's been the organizational politics that have been involved. Those can be ruthless, unfortunately. Dealing with the White House is a unique set of, a unique circumstance. The White House, I think, they want a lot of things, and they're not always able to line up the priorities, trying to please various interest group communities. There's a lot I've learned, believe me, but hopefully we'll be at the end of this ride in the coming days.
Alex Nicholson is the Executive Director of Service Members United. Many thanks for your time this evening.
Of course. Thank you, Chris.